Just a word about the process by which we create these models. And for anyone listening who is familiar with system dynamics modeling already, I should just say that there's a somewhat different philosophy that we are going to follow through this course. Now, that philosophy is what we call an agile approach to modeling. It's a style of model development in which a working quantified model is built fast. We do it quickly. We get something working in a very short time with the users, and that model is repeatedly added to and extended to the extent that we need to. And we don't always need to keep adding and extending the models. And we do this with a continuous involvement of the users or the clients, the people who actually have the problem. If that's us, of course, then we're naturally involved, but often we're doing this with other people or for other people, and they must be involved through the process. What this approach does is it gives insights and actionable findings at every stage for reasons I'll explain in a moment. That you may be familiar with other approaches to modelling in which you build qualitative diagrams and maps and causal loop diagrams of the situation or the issue that you're trying to model. There is no qualitative mapping in this process. It's one of the reasons that the process is much faster. And there's an article you can go to and read there to explain about that. And in that article, it explains that the approach is named after an equivalent fast development approach that's been used for many years in the IT world to help IT developers build IT system solutions for people and actually with people rather faster than traditional planned approaches to IT systems development. So that's where the Agile word came from. The steps in this process, we start by setting out with the problem owner what the performance over time is that we're trying to improve. We trace back from that to what are called the stocks that are driving the performance, the customers driving sales, the staff driving service capacity and labour costs. And we then look at how those stocks are accumulating and depleting over time, driven by what are called the flow rates. So how fast are we winning customers and losing customers? And what does that do to the stock of customers changing over time? How fast are we hiring staff and losing staff and promoting staff through the staff pipeline? Very similar to the way in which your cash accumulates in your bank account or the debt rises and falls on your credit card. What we then do is we look at those flow rates, the customer win rate or the staff turnover rate or whatever it may be, and we trace back to what's driving that, and it's usually some mix of decisions that we've taken or external factors that are affecting us or existing stocks in the system. So, for example, we would lose staff if the number of customers was generating so much demand that our staff were overloaded. So that's an example of interdependence. And when we trace those interdependencies around, what we discover is that there is feedback in the system. We have that word of mouth feedback for that consumer technology product that we discussed with Alan's case. But then we've got other kinds of feedback, like the balancing feedback that causes the limits to just how far that particular business could grow. And reinforcing feedback can cause bad things too. That investment company was in a serious decline because there was a negative feedback in the system driving down their sales and driving down their profits. The important thing about this process is that the user gets actionable results at every stage. In some cases, it can be a matter of minutes before you've discovered something important about the relationship between changes to a customer stock and what's actually happening to your sales performance. And then at the next stage, you get further actionable results. We've got problems with our sales, not because we're failing to win customers, but actually because we're losing customers at an increasing rate. Actionable results again, and then you get further actionable results when you see the relationships between these decisions, external factors and existing stocks. Now that gets you to a start point. You get a kind of core basic picture of the working system when you do that, and sometimes you need to go back round it once or twice more to fill out some of the missing mechanisms in the business, but you don't often have to go around it very many times. When you've done all that, what you end up with is a reliable working model that can be continually updated and exploited. This should be a working tool that you keep on using. Now, it's important to understand that we could not have done this until recently. Things have changed. Simulating business systems and performance up until recent years was genuinely difficult. The method was time-consuming, laborious, it required a lot of experience, and it was often unreliable. We ended up with models that people didn't trust and didn't give reliable results. But with the better methods that we have now and the better tools that are available, this is now a very practical thing to do. It's easier, faster, and more reliable to build these models using these tools than it is to do a worse job using spreadsheet-based alternatives. That's the real bottom line benefit that you're going to get out of this course.